Are you new to instructional design and not sure of everything that you need to know? Or you're seeing a whole bunch of acronyms flying at you and you don't even know what they mean? Well, friends, in today's video, I'm going to break down the terms that you need to get familiar with as a new instructional designer. Hey friends, my name is Vanessa, and on this channel, I help aspiring instructional designers and e-learning developers, just like you, get off of the sidelines and get into the L&D game. And so today, we're gonna talk all about terminology and what it is that you need to know. And these terms are really great to know because you're gonna hear a lot of them in conversation, on LinkedIn, when you're applying to interview, in job postings and things like that. So I want you to take this list and I want you to copy it and I want you to go and do your own research on what exactly it all means. But also scour around the Vanessa Anchored YouTube channel because some of these things have already been covered in previous videos, and I'll note some of them where appropriate. So first things first, you need to be able to know how you are going to define instructional design and learning experience design. You're going to hear all these terms flip-flop a lot. You're also going to need to know what the difference is between instructional design, learning experience design, and things like corporate training and things like that. So the other reason that I really want you to spend some time researching and looking into these terms is because a lot of people don't know what instructional design is, let alone learning experience design, since that term is definitely newer, but definitely want to know how to define instructional design because a lot of people don't even know what it is. And you need to be able to say quickly what instructional design is and how, that supports the organization and why instructional design is so important. Because people are going to ask you, hey, what do you do? And you're going to say, I'm an instructional designer. And they're going to be like, what? Huh? So being able to share what instructional design is in a succinct, clear manner is definitely going to do you a lot of help as you go along your journey. Along the same lines with that, you want to be able to define how you define yourself. Are you an instructional designer? Are you a learning experience designer? Are you an e-learning developer? Are you a corporate trainer? Are you a facilitator? So all of these different terms are things that you are going to need to know so you can better classify who you are on things like your LinkedIn profile, on your resume, and really you want to find the position that best describes what you do. I will say the trickiest one to decide between is definitely instructional designer and learning experience designer. They very much are used interchangeably, and I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of feelings about that, those two terms. So if you want me to do a side-by-side comparison of instructional designers and learning experience designer and kind of what you should be calling yourself, give this video a thumbs up and we can add that to the list of future videos. Now, as an instructional designer, you're going to want to know the basic theories and terms that are applied to instructional design. First things first, Andragogy, and also Pedagogy. And you'll want to know the difference between those two. Some other things that you'll want to know are some learning theories, such as self-directed learning, transformational learning, and experiential learning. And I know that there's definitely a lot more adult learning theory to really dive into, and that's an entire master's program. So I definitely recommend you start there, and it helps you to dive into it further. The reason I want you to dive into these terms and theories, besides that you have to know these things in order to really do good, sound instructional design, it helps you to develop your learning philosophy and helps you with things like writing content, blogs, and applying these learning theories to things that we are seeing in, trends and things that we're seeing outside of the learning field. And you can start to make those connections and really create interesting blogs and articles and content pieces to then share out on social media. So these next terms are definitely not theories in instructional design, although some people think that they are, but these are more project management models. So you have to know the ADDIE model. And I will link right above my video on the ADDIE model that kind of breaks down the ADDIE model and how you apply it. So you definitely need to know that. You will see that on 99.9999999% of job applications and things like that. That is the one that is the most well-known project management model for instructional design. So I would say if you start there, you're in a really good place to have conversation around how you create instructional design or how you create training materials. Some other methodologies that you'll want to know are Agile, which I also have a video for that I'll link above, and SAM, or the Llama model. However, I would say that those models are a little bit less known, but it is nice that you have those models in your arsenal so you can really decide which is the model that best suits you as an instructional designer and your instructional design philosophy. Now, when you're talking about training at the very basic level, you want to know these terms and these alphabet soups. Instructor-led training, or ILT, virtual instructor-led training, or VILT, e-learning, training documentation, quick reference guides, job aids, all the different pieces. You're going to hear all of these things being talked about. But the three main ones that I feel like you hear over and over again is instructor-led, virtual instructor-led, and e-learning. And then the last thing, I definitely want you to take a lot of time to learn more about and understand how you could apply it and come up with, ideas around it, thoughts around it, put out content on this, if it fits in with your marketing messaging, is blended learning. A lot of organizations are moving towards a blended learning model because they see that it's so much better for the content, for the learner especially. And in this world where we're doing so many things virtually, we're seeing where we can build up some efficiencies, and maybe they take a quick video or they watch a quick video and then they come to the classroom and they do a workshop with a facilitator in the classroom. So being able to put together this kind of whole learning plan, this blended learning plan, has been really beneficial to organizations, and they're really loving that. So make sure you brush up on blended learning. Speaking of e-learning, you are going to hear about it talked in a myriad of ways. So just in case you hear this, sometimes some people call e-learning CBTs, computer-based training, WBTs, web-based training. And if you see any of those two, that is very old school. So definitely know that if they are referring to it in that way, they probably don't have someone that is actually doing the work of creating the job description or the request for proposals, or they're a little bit more old school. So you want to think about that when you are, approaching them to create, TikTok for learning at that organization. Sometimes you'll hear some people refer to e-learning as online training, and I hear this often, and I want to kill this now. E-learning is not videos. When someone thinks of a traditional e-learning module, they think of something that's interactive, where they are actually engaging with the content. When someone hears the word video, they're thinking about YouTube and what you're watching right now, where you're sitting and watching, and you're not actively participating in the content. So if you are trying to scope a project and you keep saying the word video, what they really meant was e-learning, that definitely changes the scope, right? Video might take a little bit longer, or it might take a little bit less time depending on the style of video. Some people may say, hey, what happened to all the interactive pieces? I would say, but I kept saying video, and videos aren't necessarily interactive where you're clicking on hotspots, to make the screen move, or you're not clicking on tabs to explain the content. So you definitely want to make sure that you are using the phrases appropriately and asking probing questions to understand exactly what your client or what your stakeholder is looking for. And when they talk to you about where they're going to house their e-learning modules, you definitely want to make sure you understand what a learning management system is and what it can and cannot do. And the other thing that you are going to hear a lot about now is a learning record store. So for courses that are published as XAPI, you'll need a learning record store in order to be able to see everything that the learner did. A traditional learning management system without that learning record store isn't going to be able to give you all that data. And I would say that the newest thing that we're seeing on the block, besides an LRS, is an LXP, a learning experience platform. So if you start hearing people talk about that, they're really trying to trend in creating these learning experiences. So you just want to brush up on a couple of different players and what an LXP can do, and the benefits of an LMS versus an LXP. So key terms in terms of a learning management system in terms of tracking are going to be SCORM, my favorite one, and the different types of SCORM, 1.2, 2004, all the things. You don't need to know specifically the differences, but when you hear it and see it, or when someone says to you, oh, is your module going to be SCORM compliant? They're talking about how you publish the module in order to get it loaded on the LMS to track what a learner does. So SCORM, AICC, XAPI, and the newest one on the block to all of these publishing modules is CMI 5. So make sure you know a little bit about what that is and the benefits of using it. Now back to e-learning. One of the things that you're going to have to know is about the development process, and that would include developing either a storyboard or a prototype. And lucky for you, next week I have a video coming out all about the difference between a storyboard and a prototype and when is best to use either. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you are notified for my next video so you can hear all about my differences between storyboards and prototypes. I'll save you a little bit of the digging around on all of these terms with that video. As an instructional designer, you're going to want to know about some new trends and do a little bit of digging and research and really understand when these types of trends are appropriate to use and when they might not be. And they are probably going to come up in some of the interviews or some of the RFPs that you put out there. And that includes AR, augmented reality, VR, virtual reality, gamification, microlearning, and I'm just gonna throw this out there as a personal one, TikTok for learning. Finally, I know this list has been long, but I do wanna make sure that on the business side, you are prepared. So make sure you understand what a subject matter expert is, or SME or SME, and how you can utilize them and how you can work with them. I'll link a video right here with how I work with my subject matter experts and kind of try to herd the cats with them to give you all my tips and tricks on subject matter experts. You'll also want to know more about what a project charter is because that really helps to set off all of your projects, whether you're an internal employee or you're a contractor. It really sets all of your projects off on the right foot. So make sure you learn what a project charter is. And finally, this is the one I was saving for last because I hate the way that some people say it. But make sure you know what a statement of work is, or an SOW, as I call it, or a SOW. Oh, I hate that word. I hate when people say SOW. It's SOW. So make sure you know what a statement of work is and how it is beneficial for you and your business. Even if you're an internal employee, you should still have some sort of statement of work that shows what should be included in your project so you know whether or not you're on the right track or if things start to go off the rails. It really helps to guide your projects and it really helps to make sure that everyone is confined within these boundaries so you're able to meet the deliverables in which you've agreed upon. Okay, so I probably missed like 75 million things. So leave a comment down below with any additional terms that new instructional designers should know and be researching. And leave a comment down below with any additional topics that you want for future videos based on what we've just talked about. Next, I have a video for you linked that is all about how you can get started in instructional design today. Friends, thank you so much for watching and I will see you in my next video. Bye.